This is Dano. We are talking with members of the Uke Club, and today we're kind of going to go back a little bit in time. A couple of questions had come up coincidentally with what I had planned for today anyway, which was to talk about some basic elements that often get overlooked. So if you're feeling like you're an advanced player, this may seem very basic to you, but we'll get over it in 7 minutes, and you never know, you might pick up something that's helpful to you. As you guys know, by using this technology system, we don't have a closed world. I've tried to label it in the least interesting way that I could, so that really only the people in the Uke Club would care to even bother showing up. But as we know from past experience, we get outsiders creeping in, interlopers, I call them. So be that as it may, just keep your clothes on and don't curse, and we should be okay. This is what I wanted to talk about today. The point of these little sessions when we get together is not really to have a deep song lesson or a detailed technique lesson. My hope is that I can answer questions that have either come up in the club, on the boards, or right here on the spot. So today I wanted to talk about some basic things that everybody needs to know. So I'm going to just address them as questions that have been asked. Question 1, how hard do you need to press when you're making chords? How hard do you need to press when you're making chords? I have an answer for that will sound like I'm being facetious, but I'm not. The answer is just hard enough. That's how hard you need to press when you're making chords. When you press down, I'm going to hold a G chord here just for example. If you're not pressing hard enough, you're going to get dead plastic sound. We call that a mute when you do it intentionally. If you do it accidentally, it's a mistake. So if that's the sound you're getting and it's not the sound you want, you're not pressing hard enough. So you need to press a little bit harder and a little bit harder and a little bit harder until you get music ringing out of your strings. There, it's not quite right, but it's closer. And when you've pressed hard enough, you will get beautiful music. Well, you won't get beautiful music necessarily, but you will get the sound of music. Should it hurt is another question. Well, I don't know if you can see, just from playing that G chord for a minute, I've got lines across my fingertips now. Generally speaking, I've never known ukulele players to work up big meaty calluses the way guitar players or bass players or cello players get, but your fingertips will toughen up over time. If it starts to hurt, take a break and don't wash dishes. If you get soggy fingertips, that's not going to help at all. That's how hard you should press. If you're getting a single buzzing string, what do you do? Well, a single buzzing string is probably Jerry, I'm not sure what you're referring to. No, it should not. You shouldn't get a single buzzing string. Is that what you're saying? Oh, it shouldn't hurt. Absolutely. That's a good point, Jerry. Thank you. If you're playing a cheap ukulele with a bad setup, with high action, the strings up high over the neck, it's going to be harder to press those strings down. So a good quality setup, even on a cheap ukulele, will probably make a difference, that the amount of pressure you need to apply will be less. And I'm not encouraging you to rush out and buy an expensive ukulele, but you might want to spend, what is it, $30 or $40 to get a ukulele set up well, if you don't feel that it is. Thanks for that point, Jerry. If you're getting a single buzzing string, there's a couple of things that could be at play. One, it could be your fault. Hey, Narabaku, nice to see you here. If you get that kind of sound, that means you're not pressing hard enough. You hear the buzz? What's happening is you're pressing it down and it's not being stopped behind the fret as completely as it needs to be. And so it's actually buzzing on that fret. Press a little harder and it will convert to music. You want to train your ear so that you start to recognize when it's good, when it's musical, and when it's a little off. If you're getting a buzz and you're sure that's not the cause, then you could have a technical problem with your ukulele, and you may need to make some adjustments. That's beyond what we're talking about today. In fact, in my opinion, it's beyond what I care to do on a ukulele at all. As soon as I have a problem, it's just like a car. I take it to the shop. Granalala, I like your name. I've learned that playing as close to the fret wire as possible without being on top lessens the amount of pressure you have to produce. That's very good thinking. And what that means is I'm at fret 3, like for a C chord. So closer to the fret wire, that's the fret wire that's stopping the string in this case. You're behind it. And if you're there's not a whole lot of movement space possible. But you're saying that a little closer to the fret in play can make a difference. That's probably more true on a bigger ukulele. So that's a couple of thoughts about buzzing. Do bear in mind that we talk a lot in the daily lessons about muting. So it's good to have that control of being able to press the strings to get music and then to lighten your press on the strings to get the mute. Jerry says, use one finger to fret. If you can't stop the buzzing, no matter how hard or where you press, it's the ukulele. Jerry, I think you're saying to lay your finger across like that and see if you're getting a buzz. So you can eliminate the idea that it's not, you can eliminate the idea that it's your fingers causing the problem on a buzzing string, or a fingertip on the buzzing string. Yep, good. All good suggestions. Related to this, but shifting into new territory, I want to talk for 1 minute about shifting chords smoothly. This is a big problem for people that are just beginning, and it sort of comes naturally to some people, and it really throws other people off. There's a couple of things that I'll say right at the outset that will really help you a lot. Number one, if you're familiar with the song, or at least familiar with the chord changes of the song. So don't expect to jump into a song that you've never tried before and to be able to play it through smoothly. You're working out too many things at once. You're working out chord changes, possibly new chords, the beat, the strum pattern. You're thinking about lyrics. There's a lot going on. There's no way for you to change chords smoothly if you can't see what's coming down the road. So be ready for what's coming down the road, and that will help you immensely. Thing two is be familiar with the chord shapes. If you're learning the chords as you go, then again, it's going to be really tricky for you to jump to a new chord that you're figuring out on the fly. This sounds so obvious, and yet, especially in my beginner classes, I see people coming in with this complaint: I can't change chords smoothly, and they haven't eliminated these really obvious problems. One thing that may not be so obvious is something, I really like this term, and I'm not sure where I picked it up, called the escape hatch. And let's say you're playing a song in typical 4/4, and I'm going to go from a G to a D7. 1, 2, 3, 4, D7. So you've got 4 counts on each chord. Well, and then the and beats in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That 4 and beat is the point that can be called the escape hatch. And I like that term for it because it really is, it's like a point of relief where you can be in the process of switching chords rather than exactly on the next chord or the previous chord. Let me slow way down and show you what I mean. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and would be the next beat, and then 1 down on the D7. But on that 4 and, you can be mid chord change. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and D. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and D. 2 and 4. Now, sometimes that's not going to sound quite right to have all your fingers off the strings. Sometimes you won't need to have all your fingers off the strings. In that example, if you're going from a G to a D7, one of your fingers can just flop over and you don't get the full sound of all the open strings. But most of the time, it's actually okay to have your fingers off for that half beat. And in some cases, I intentionally throw that in. For those of you that have gotten up to Blue Bayou in the daily lessons, I use that technique there. Off, on, 2, 3, 4, off, on, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So you can use it to sort of drive the beat and add some interest, but you can also use it as a slop point to smooth out your chord transitions. And that's all. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to cover those basic ideas for those who might be having trouble with those things. And that said, it's 3:15. I wanted to talk for 10 minutes. We had chat time for about 5. So let's open it up for questions. I'll hang out as long as there's anybody here who's got anything to say. You can type in to the message board over on the side, or if you'd like to be a star, you can appear on camera, on screen, just by clicking into the open seat. So a couple of housekeeping things while we're closing up shop. Thanks, Jerry. I don't think anybody's jumping in, so feel free. And I'll just finish up what I was about to say. For these weekly meetings, I think it's better to be doing weekly than monthly. It takes the weight off of a monthly meeting where you feel like, oh, there's going to be something big and I better be there. By doing it weekly, we can keep it short. We can keep it very topic specific, and we can take tangential questions like Jerry's. And what we're doing is kind of shifting the schedule from one day of the week to the next and shifting the hour a little bit, because I'm delighted to say we do have people from all around the world participating in the Uke Club, and I'm wanting to try to open these meetings up to as many people as possible over time too. Granalala, I'm loving these classes, thank you. Always a bit behind, but the Wednesday through Sunday stuff is really helping. Good, and I addressed that on the Facebook group too, just the other day, because I'd had some people writing to me saying they felt like they were getting behind. And I'll just reiterate that here briefly. I don't think that you can get behind unless you get really, really, really behind. If you think of this as a real world class, and sometimes you can't show up to a real world class every day. The kid is sick. You've got to get the dog somewhere, whatever's going on. We're adults and we have busy lives, right? So take your time. Always know that you can backtrack, unlike a real class, because the video lessons are there waiting for you. They're generally short, so it's not a big deal. Even if you had to, make up a week or even more, you could set aside an hour one day and you'd be able to catch up for more than a week in that time. So I'm glad to hear that it's helping and that you're enjoying it. Jerry, go ahead. It sounds like you've got something to ask. Jerry's jumping in, so let's see. By the way, I really appreciate everybody showing up. This technology makes these kind of meetings so easy and so amazingly functional, I think. I saw Jerry the other night at our local ukulele meeting, and I felt like I had just seen him the other day when in fact I had seen you online, Jerry. So I really am enjoying the technology. Go ahead.
Me too. We can talk this offline if you want. But
Jerry, you're breaking up, sorry.
I'm getting a bad echo. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Is this any better?
Yep, I think so.
Okay. So I'm trying to start an afternoon meetup in Arlington.
In Arlington.
Now, what do people do about duplicating song sheets?
Jerry,
specifically Harry Fox.
Specifically what?
Harry Fox.
Do you mean for copyright infringement and that sort of
thing? Oh,
thing?
yeah.
Well, for our live local meetups, Jerry, I don't think we are on anybody's radar. In addition, we are generally not supplying the melody line. We are supplying lyrics and chord changes. So we're also using it for educational purposes. I mean, I just feel like it's such small potatoes. It's really never even been a concern for me.
I was just curious.
Yeah. When we first started up, we were looking into getting like real arrangements, band arrangements and things like that. And somebody knew a little bit about that, much more than I did, and was very, very worried about all the copyright stuff.
Yeah.
We decided it wasn't worth the effort of doing arrangements per se, and just use those little cheat sheets that are all over the internet anyway.
Right. But
So
most of them are in England.
most of them are what?
In England, the big
Oh,
books.
yeah, yeah. So
One other thing.
maybe she has something to say on the subject.
I do. In the Santa Cruz books, at the bottom, Andy Andrews has put a written sort of disclaimer that these are for education and are for singing along groups. And I found when I do groups, I always have that present someplace, just that little statement.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's
Thanks.
very smart, Susanna, just to have that as a safety.
Yep.
And in fact, I never thought about this, but we've never done this until just last week at our local ukulele meeting. Somebody wanted to stream the meeting out online to the club, and
Cool.
it was kind of cool. And I think some people appreciated it. But Jerry, that may be closer to your worry that all of a sudden, if you're broadcasting
Yes.
these songs, that might shift it into.
Oh yeah, you have to let people know in advance. But that may have saved my life.
What? Why? How so?
I didn't realize how overweight I was.
Oh,
It's not a joke.
okay. Well, I guess
Camera adds 10 pounds.
that's right.
You got it. Related, have either of you ever used a Pico projector?
Got to say it again. Sorry.
Have either of you ever used a Pico projector?
Oh, to project songs for the whole group?
Yep.
Have
I
experimented with it. Susanna, go ahead.
I have. I use it sometimes with my senior group, because paper gets to be expensive, and I just put it up on the wall, and there it is.
Yeah, that's very smart, I think, if you've got the technology.
So you
I think
can make stuff available online if people want to print it themselves.
Yeah,
Right.
And then use a projector.
right.
I
Yeah.
know Jason Aramoto at the U Space here in Los Angeles. He teaches his class completely with that.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the only downside that I see to that is it shifts the focus to the wall.
Yeah.
And the one or two times we did it with our group, it wasn't a big negative, but it was a noticeable difference to what I was used to. I'm finding more and more too that people are bringing their own technology. They load the songs onto an iPad or something,
Right.
and bring that in. So
I like the idea of looking at the wall, though, because it gets you from looking down at the paper
yeah,
and at your fingers, and you get used to looking up.
that's a very good point.
That's a toughie.
And Ralph over in the comments says, work on really early songs. And of course, that's a solution. I think the cutoff point was 1923.
Yeah.
It shifts every
Great.
year, I think, because is it 75 years or something? Whatever.
No. Sonny Bono copyright. It's Sonny Bono copyright. ETA. Well, in any case, Mickey Mouse is in jail. He's never come out.
Yeah, yeah. And some things I know they're able to renew them, but I guess the odds are better with less well-known songs of a certain vintage.
No, what happens is when copyright on Mickey Mouse is going to expire, they get the Congress to extend the copyright term. And there was no opposition to the last one. That's right, Sonny Bono Copyright Term Extension Act.
Well, I tell you, if I'd written that song, I want my copyright to go as long as possible. So,
Could I ask Susanna a question?
Yeah.
I didn't see you before when you first came on, but I see you fine now. Is there anything different?
What did you ask?
You came on at the beginning of the session,
Right.
but I couldn't see you
It went away, so I got out and came back in.
because I see you fine now.
Yeah, well, something happened and I lost everybody.
Thank you.
That's kind of the way this stuff works. And I have the same reaction, Susanna. Shut
Yeah,
down.
just go
shut
away
down.
and come back.
Yeah, good. All right, guys. Well, great talking with you. I love people jumping on screen with me. It just really makes it into almost normal conversation. So thank you, guys.
Great.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to say goodbye. It's 3:25. We've been recording. So we'll have this up on the website for the others pretty soon.
See you all next time.
Good. Thanks. Nice talking with you.